This guy, I think, has single-handedly done more damage to the deep state than anybody could have. And it, boy, oh boy, seems like it could have been intentional. Certainly, he's got some major crimes that we are going to be hearing about. I'll be honest, right up front, just to bury the lead, or not bury the lead, I do think that the red line of basically blacking out everything, or the power outage, or hack by Russia, or whatever they're going to call it, is all going to happen because of this guy. His information's coming out. It's coming out quickly. We're going to talk about all this stuff. Obviously, Russia, very involved right now, desperately trying to do their thing against the deep state. And I think, no pun intended, doing a bang-up job. So we've got a lot to talk about. Certainly, Kentanji Jackson is also going to be talked about as well today. So whole lot going on. That all being said, Russia's claiming further strikes with hypersonic and warship launch cruise missiles. So they're doing a little bit more, doing some major attacks. Now, it is interesting, some of the stuff that they are actually taking out now. They've got some, and they're really pinpoint accurate, it seems, too. Check this out. Got a nice little structure that, once again, or building, or whatever the hell that was. And again, not sure how deep underground. This one didn't seem like it went too terribly deep. But they said that they've got these hypersonic missiles hitting Ukrainian fuel depots near the Black Sea. The strike marked the second day in a row of Russia using these weapons, the 𝐋𝐀𝐓. It's capable of striking targets at about 2,000 kilometers at a speed of about 10 times the speed of sound, or Mach 10. Very quick. Now, speed of sound is obviously the same. They're going to do it in kilometers per hour. I don't know if I assume it's still called Mach. But anyway, I just know that, from our standpoint. But they also noted the Caliber cruise missile being launched by Russian cruise ships in the Caspian Sea were also involved in the strike on the fuel depot. I don't know if those are hypersonic. I probably could have looked them up, but again, it's interesting that they're using some of these hypersonic missiles. It makes me think they had anti-missile systems in place to defend these targets, and the hypersonic missiles would just have a very hard time getting taken out by those missiles. I mean, they're pretty much on target by the time they even know they're there, and I don't believe Ukrainians have a whole lot of any sort of radar available anymore. So I think a lot of their systems are going to be pretty short range as far as how well they work, and it seems that these missiles are definitely breaking through. Now, we heard this before in the past. I want to say it was that 2014 or whatever, but there's an infamous story of some Russian soldiers. I believe it was Russian. Could have been Israel, but I think it was Russian. And they were attacking some targets with artillery, and they didn't exactly know where they were. And so they ended up being able to pinpoint, based off of the telephone signals of the people's cell phones that were in these artillery units, they were able to pinpoint where they were and used that information to launch a volley and take out the enemy. Well, it seems this may have very well have happened on that NATO Ukrainian base, that one that was just barely inside of Poland. There is the possibility that some British individuals might have given away their location because of their area code, the national code, the international code, the +44 to dial to England. So apparently that showing up on the list made them realize, oh, we've got a whole collection of British people, and they are inside of Ukraine. Not good. We'll take them out. Now, that was pretty brutal attack, obviously, and there's a lot of discussion around how volunteers are being treated. If for some crazy reason you're listening to me and you're thinking of volunteering in the Ukraine, can I just say, not a good idea. Those people are being taken advantage of, apparently given a couple days of training, and then pushed the hell out the door and said, hey, go fight for us. You go, boys. Snap. And then they, don't probably do very well. So things are getting a little hectic over there. Now, Ukraine has admitted now to placing artillery in residential areas following this Russian missile strike. Now, at first, they were like, no, that's a bunch of crap. You lied. And then some information came out from a TikToker. Apparently, he had filmed himself identifying the location of the Ukrainian artillery near the Retroville Mall in Kiev. Russian intelligence agencies were assumed to have noticed the video, and a missile strike was conducted in the area. So they had this kind of play that, oh, we were just basing it off of this TikTok viewer. That's apparently how good Russia intelligence is. Boy, if they didn't have TikTok, Russia wouldn't know what the hell's going on, would they? Well, I don't think that's actually true. Kremlin ended up issuing a statement after confirming that the bombardment struck the intended target, which the Russians claimed was housing rockets used by the Ukrainians, in the nearby multi-launch systems. But Ukraine initially chose to dispute these assertions. The Office of the Prosecutor General condemned the strike as a premeditated murder that violates the laws and customs of war, implicitly arguing that the target was illegitimate and solely used by civilians. Well, a pretrial investigation is underway, but the claims made by the Prosecutor General apparently didn't hold up to scrutiny. Now, with the arrest of the TikToker who filmed the site before the strike occurred, the SBU has confirmed that there were indeed legitimate military targets in and around the shopping center. The Times also reported that Ukrainians claimed to have witnessed mobile missile launchers in the area. And unfortunately for both the TikToker and the SBU, the assumption that Russia identified the location from posts on social media is contradicted by the release of aerial surveillance footage by the Kremlin. Let's look at some of that. And what you'll see here, it's pretty slow. It's kind of stop motion, but you can see missiles being launched. Wash, 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 basically. That's my sound effects. Very high dollar sound effects. Don't you, I hope you know that. Yes. So Russia's, I think these are little itty bitty drones, to be honest with you. They're being used very well. And to my understanding, they've got all sorts of crazy equipment that are attached to a lot of these things, but you can certainly see some pretty incredible footage of this area by the mall and all sorts of enemy vehicles using that area as cover, which I think when you use civilians as shields, well, that's actually against the laws and customs of war, I believe. So anywho, they desperately continue to try to blame Putin for everything that's wrong with the world, when in reality, it seems that they're the problem. The whole Khazarian mafia that's stuck within this part of the world, definitely part of the problem. Ukraine's Zelensky threatens World War III could break out if Putin peace talks fail, right? Now, again, we know what's going on here at home and the information that's coming out. We know the deep state is being just totally pulled out and identified, especially in our country. We're seeing plain as day who the bad actors are and who the good actors are, especially through this 𝐋𝐀𝐓𝐄𝐒𝐓 crap that's going on. But of course, they've got to spin up the war thing. They need a war. They need the cover. They need it badly. So, of course, Zelensky is threatening that if Putin and I can't come to an agreement, well, it's probably going to be World War III. Again, trying to scare everybody. But what has he been asking for? He's been asking for escalations. Give us weapons. Give us a no-fly zone. Give us things that will make this war worse. And from anybody standing on the outside going, dude, as much as we may like you or not like you or whatever the hell, giving you the things you're asking for is a world war. That's 1 billion people dead. If we just let Russia just kind of stomp all over you, yeah, it's millions of people dead, but certainly not over 1 billion. Right? I mean, that's from a black and white standpoint. Now, obviously, there's more to it than that. And I don't mean to belittle any of the wonderful Ukrainian citizens that exist there. Obviously, they are well aware of the infiltration that they've got in that country. And frankly, I've got zero love for any of, well, I'll give love because that's how you heal. But I've got I don't want to save the Nazis that exist within Ukraine. No. Now, I'll send them love all day long. I'll send them prayer and God's light and love. But if that's not good enough to get them to leave town and become good people, then so shall it be. New report of U.S. boots on the ground in Ukraine doing operational prep on the battlefield. Kind of interesting how this one played out. They don't give us any real legitimate information as far as what side they're helping. They're claiming to be helping the Ukrainians, but who? They say they're helping them to fight against the Russians, so that is about the one thing that we get that maybe indicates these are bad guys are being sent over by Biden, but I have a hard time believing Biden's got any control of anything. And so I don't believe the story that's necessarily coming out that makes it sound like we've got special forces there that are trying to attack and fight the Russians. Maybe, but I would assume if there is special forces there, which it sounds like there is, that they're probably actually helping take down the deep state, right? The Khazarians. They're probably trying to maybe help get civilians out. Maybe they're just paying attention to the warfare being used and studying. There's a lot of things that you could glean from being close to the fighting. And so, I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I certainly don't want to assume that Biden's got any control of anything, because I don't believe he does. And this isn't just confirmation bias. We've seen too many things go down that did not happen the way we know the deep state wants them to go. Biden does not have control. So something doesn't quite add up, but they're saying they've got some SEAL Team 6, some Delta Force there. This military unit is the JSOX Advanced Force Operations. So there's a few of them out there running around doing God knows what. And of course, somebody got pissed off. They're like, you shouldn't be talking about this. And I agree. But again, that also made me think maybe these are good guys that are there for good reasons in a bad place, which that happens frequently, especially with SEALs and Delta Force. Tucker Carlson calls out Zelensky for seizing control of Ukraine's media outlets and banning opposition political parties. He goes, this is authoritarianism. It's not democracy. Now, I don't want to play Tucker. I could care less. You guys can watch Fox News if you want. I'm not going to give him any more credit than I am. Tucker's definitely on the right side of things for the most part. But what I am pointing out is it's all the Democrats that talk about how they're saving democracy, right? Saving democracy by stealing tax money, by stuffing their own pockets, by buying stocks when you've got insider trading information, by just absolutely annihilating the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. Like, just, it's obvious what democracy means to them versus what we thought it meant to us. Now, freedom for sure. Constitution, yes. Bill of Rights, yes. Not this crazy version of democracy that the crazy leftist communist Democrats keep referring to, or, and this is a great example of what the Democrat deep state bastards want, or what Zelensky's doing by banning political parties, by banning free speech, claiming to be democracy, claiming that we're fighting for democracy when there's literally a dictator in charge. Kind of like the truth sort of seems to work through the fiction a little bit, doesn't it? Kind of burns through it almost. So Ukraine is the great reset laboratory of the global tech elite. I don't think a lot of people realized this was where a lot of this stuff was going. This is where George Soros was from and lived in a lot of cases. It's been they've been in the middle of the war. Ukraine has been stealthily working hard on being the first nation to implement virtually all the World Economic Forum's Great Reset key hallmarks: digital identity, universal basic income, Chinese-style social credit scores, which are all combined and they're already operational. DIA app, DIIA app. The country is transferring citizens' power to the states and handing it over to the World Economic Forum and other supranational organizations. This was where it was all supposed to start. This is Khazaria. And that is why they were going after these little pockets of resistance of Russians that absolutely hated the Nazis that lived there, just happened to live in Donbass and some of these other areas. So this is really what's been going on. This is what Putin is essentially fighting for the world, at least this part of the world. It seems to be falling on Putin's shoulders right now. And of course, like Donald Trump, taking a lot of slings and arrows, isn't he? It's the same thing, same situation. Now again, I know Russia, Putin, he's been a horrible dictator and all that. I got you. I'm not trying to say that, I want to go crawl into bed with the guy or something. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is I think he's actually working for the good guys, aka the world, the white hats, and he's taking out some bad actors. And sometimes you got to be an asshole to take out some assholes. I'm just saying. Now, Biden says, of course, the quiet part out loud, my least favorite phrase ever. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. Yeah, that's basically what they're going for. On Monday, he joined the Business Roundtable CEO quarterly meeting to discuss the United States' response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Biden mumbled through remarks and casually said that Russia is planning a cyber attack against the United States. The magnitude of Russia's cyber capacity is fairly consequential, and it's coming, he continued. Then Joey said the quiet part out loud and blurted out Klaus Schwab's plan. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we have to lead it, Biden said, disclosing information he received from top military aides. So he is telling us, once again, the cyber attack is coming. Now, I will be honest. I didn't believe when he said Putin was going to invade. Putin's going to invade. He kept saying it, and they were going to use that to start World War III. And Putin had to do it because he needed to attack the Khazarians. It was something that had to happen. So they had an idea it was coming. They didn't know exactly when, and they were making the noise because they wanted to make a war. Now, it did play out because we're doing an amazing job breaking down information. I've got a slide that's going to talk about exactly one of the key ways we're doing that. But things are sputtering to the top. We are seeing what's going on. We're seeing the players. We're seeing what their plan is. And we're seeing them try to enact it, but it's not going very well. So, of course, once again, Joe Biden, it's coming, casually says Russia is planning a cyber attack against the United States. They keep talking about it. This has to happen. Now, likely, it's not going to be Russia in the case of a cyber attack. I don't see why Russia would do that. They are kind of at financial war with us, but they're not at a war with the people. Now, our deep state just definitely went after the Russian people. Not cool. But I think here in the States, we've been pretty awesome. Well, a lot of us have been pretty awesome about not hating the Ukrainian people, nor hating the Russian people. There's no reason to hate any of these people. It is the governments, it's this deep state bastards, and then this Azov battalion Nazi bastards, right? Like, pretty simple who the enemies are on the table right now, if you will. So the battle across America right now, McConnell versus Trump. And that's really what's going on right now. It's McConnell's GOP or America's GOP. And I don't want to say Trump's GOP, and I think Trump would probably pat me on the back for saying that. It's our country. Trump has done an awesome job leading us to the watering hole. Okay? We all need to get down on our knees. Well, first, we need to make sure there's no crocodiles, but we need to get down on our knees and have a little sippy sip. Okay? You can't make a horse drink, but you can lead it to water. And that's kind of what's been happening here. So we do have a major battle that's happening. Steve Bannon's been a huge proponent of this battle, and my hat's off to the guy, even though it's on right now. You guys don't need to see my messy hair. But this is powerful. This battle across America, McConnell versus Trump, is a war for the heart and soul of the Republican Party. Now, I think that's too small stated. It's the war for the heart and soul of the world, but certainly the United States. No question about it. Not just the Republican Party. And I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to say it forever. One, no offense, there's some asshole Republicans out there, all right? Okay? So all you Republicans that think your shit don't stink, no, it does. It smells just as bad as anyone else's, okay? So there are some bad Republicans. But then on top of that, there's a lot of great independents, and there's definitely some Democrats that are waking up. So this has to stop being a partisan thing, if you will. This has to be a humanity thing. This has to be a we the people thing. And we the people doesn't have room for, ooh, you're a blue Democrat. No. It's, you're an American? All right. You want to be an American? Is it okay that I call you an American? Is that an okay pronoun for you? All right. We're on the same team. Let's stand together. I don't give a crap how you voted for the past 5,000 years. Who gives a shizzle, right? And that's where we are. So again, point is well taken. We've got some good guys that are making some noise, happen to be Republicans, and this is sort of the way the game is being played in politics. But in the reality of it, very powerful breaking news coming out about Biden's DOJ spied on Project Veritas' journalists with sealed search warrants and then concealed these communications from a federal judge. This is Biden's DOJ, literally breaking the law. I could read it to you. I'm going to let Project Veritas do their 3 minutes. It was actually pretty good, almost 4 minutes. It was pretty good, though. And you guys know I kind of like this guy anyway, let's be honest.
Showing the SDNY was spying on Project Veritas journalists well before the FBI raided the homes of our journalists last November, secretly reading our emails, concealing that from the court in our case against the SDNY. This is a fundamental, intolerable abridgment of the First Amendment by the Department of Justice.
In November 2021, the FBI raids our homes and seizes 47 electronic devices, including cell phones, laptops, and thumb drives. Within 5 days, U.S. District Court Judge Annalisa Torres ordered the Southern District of New York to pause its review of my devices, and within a month, ordered the SDNY to turn our seized materials over to a special master who would supervise the SDNY's review to protect and journalistic privileges. Recently obtained legal documents from Microsoft Corporation reveal that despite Judge Torres' orders, between November 2020 and April 2021, the Department of Justice went to 6 magistrates and obtained a series of secret warrants, orders, and a subpoena to surreptitiously collect privileged communications and contacts of 8 American journalists, myself included, from Microsoft. The DOJ even sought and obtained numerous secrecy orders preventing Microsoft from disclosing the surveillance to anyone. The SDNY also went around Judge Torres and the Special Master and obtained 2 secrecy orders after the Special Master had been appointed. Project Veritas is immediately filing a motion demanding that the federal government disclose if it engaged in covert spying of our journalists by secretly demanding production of our protected materials from any other businesses like Microsoft. The SDNY's surveillance of Project Veritas journalists was done as part of the DOJ's unprecedented investigation into Ashley Biden's diary. As far as we know, federal law enforcement has never before investigated an abandoned diary. The documents collected from these email accounts date back as far as January 2020, 8 months before we even knew the diary existed. As Project Veritas motion says, the fact that the government secretly obtained emails from 3 different Project Veritas journalists dating back from 8 months prior to the news-gathering conduct that the government is scrutinizing shocks the conscience. While the special master litigation proceeded, the government apparently misled the court by omission, by not disclosing that it had already obtained other privileged materials. The SDNY was ordered to turn over all materials to the special master. They didn't. The SDNY was ordered to stop reviewing our materials. They didn't. The SDNY has an obligation to be honest with the court. They weren't.
Is this the world we want to live in? Our government spying on Americans' private information, imposing secrecy orders with no real justification, effectively lying by omission to the courts meant to uphold our rights? Now, you can dislike Project Veritas, you can dislike me, but the government's overstep, the SDNY's overstep, is a sign of unprecedented power that affects us all. You can either stand for freedom of the press or you endorse this and wait until it happens to you.
That's pretty damning information that we're finding out. DOJ just straight up breaking the law. Straight up breaking the law. No question about it, no ifs, ands, or buts. It's getting bad. Now, the media can't push the lies anymore. This is one of the big problems. Thousands of digital soldiers dig up facts in minutes and spread the truth within hours. Narratives that would last weeks are destroyed in days. We are the news. We are the storm. The storm is upon them already. CNN breaks some news recently. These are the remains of the once famous Ukrainian resort hotel Peace after the air attacks by Russian bombers, that is. Well, then we come to find out the Ukrainian Mir Hotel, which, according to CNN journalists, was ruthlessly bombed by the Russian armed forces. Oh, no, wait. This is the Serbian resort Zvonka Banja, awaiting reconstruction. Oh, by the way, they are looking for an investor. Send CNN a thank you for the ad. Once again, lying. And surprised at CNN? No. Now, we had a Truth Social posted by 𝐋𝐀𝐓 𝐔𝐑𝐘, and he's talking about this. Biden puts everyone else first. A, he allows Russia to launch a war. B, shares classified intel with Xi. C, negotiating Iran deal re-entry. D, letting Russia mediate it. And E, now this Breitbart news story that I can't click on. Since giving the world's largest state sponsor of terror oil, money, and power not enough, Biden may undesignate their terrorist killing machine, the IRGC, who's killed more U.S. soldiers than any other group ever. Of course, he already did that, or at least he already voted to do that. And then 𝐋𝐀𝐓 𝐔𝐑𝐘 deleted this. Now, there's a lot of people that suspect, and I just felt this rabbit hole was worth going down, thought that maybe he was making a hat tip to post 1306. So I wanted to hop down here towards basically here. Now, we were talking about U1. So U1 is that uranium-1 deal. So where did the U1 material end up? Is this material traceable? And the answer is yes. All uranium is traceable. It's got very distinct amounts of certain things, and there's just telltale signs of where it was manufactured. They can tell that when looking at it. So is this traceable? Yes. Define cover. What if U1 material ended up in Syria? What would the primary purpose? Sum of all fears, the dirty bomb, you remember that? So in the movie, where did the material come from? What country? What would happen if Russia or another foreign state supplied uranium to Iran or Syria? It would be war. You see, if we have a dirty bomb that ends up in Syria and it's Russian uranium, well, Russia's to blame, right? Even though Hillary Clinton made that uranium-1 deal with Russia. And we gave them even some access to some of our uranium, for that matter. So things seem like they were trying to set them up for this long ago. Kash Patel deleted the truth post TS from 320 and refers to post 1306, we assume. Kash is linking talking points and crumbs. Uranium-1 used as cover to traffic materials from Russia to Syria. Iran's dark nuke facility in Syria and the reemergence of Syria's threat. War talk, Russia to cover up what they did. What does U1 provide? Define cover. Why did we strike Syria? Why did we really strike Syria? Define cover. Patriots are in control. We took out their mess over there in Syria. They were not allowed to use this dirty bomb. And I would assume, thermite doesn't necessarily destroy radioactive materials, but I would assume if it's not armed and the way they did the strike, who knows? Hopefully those materials didn't get destroyed. Maybe they were underground and they did a nuke on a nuke. Who knows? But it's been taken care of is what we understand. So Boeing plane nosedive crash in Guangxi, China, and Iran deal money drop-off location. They say X marks the spot. Now, it made me wonder about the crash location. Are they calling this out as an actual location where some nefarious stuff is going on? Like, what, is there an underground base there, or is something else going on? And the one thing that is interesting that they point out, they're suggesting this was remote control crash. And again, it's hard to find good pictures. Maybe he's just pulling vapor because he's going so damn fast, and maybe that's why I see what almost to me appears like smoke, and maybe that's just me wanting to see smoke, right? I admit all that. Made a pretty horrendous fire in a very, they're saying, it seems they're hinting at a specific spot. Now, what is interesting about the plane going down is it, at one point, just basically goes straight down and then leveled off, came up a little, and then went straight down again. Almost like it was trying to make sure it hit the right spot? I don't know. Now, one thing that's kind of funny when you compare it to 9/11, there's actually debris of the aircraft, which 9/11 was missing all over the place, especially the one that just crashed out in the middle of nowhere. They're like, yeah, that was a plane crash there. We're like, where's the chairs? Where's the plane? Where's the engines? Where's the wheels? Where? It just incinerated. No, it doesn't. Friggin' out of your mind. That never happens. So, again, 737, there's a lot of weird little breadcrumbs that they're throwing at us that might tie together. I don't know. Trump announces legal win over Stormy Daniels. The stripper now owes him $300,000. That's not even counting the appeals fees, he says. That's just all the original stuff. So $300,000 from the stripper, and of course Michael Avenatti, just a piece of trash that he was. Well, Trump had a neat little statement to make. The Ninth Circuit just issued a final ruling on the Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels, frivolous lawsuit against me brought by her disgraced lawyer, Michael Avenatti, upholding the lower court ruling that she owes me nearly $300,000 in attorney fees, costs, and sanctions, not including appeals costs. As I have stated many times throughout the years, I never had an affair with Stormy Daniels, nor would I ever have wanted to. The ruling was a total and complete victory and vindication for and of me. The lawsuit was a purely political stunt that never should have been started or allowed to happen, and I am pleased that my lawyers were able to bring it to a successful conclusion after the court fully rejected her appeal. Now all I have to do is wait for all of the money she owes me. P.S. The fake news probably won't report this story. But does that matter anymore? Nope. Because Trump knows we'll report it. Trump knows this information's getting out there in major ways. Now this is interesting. Soros-funded St. Louis circuit attorney refuses to press charges against the suspect who tried to carjack 2 police officers inside a police SUV. Now that's horrible in and of itself, no question about it. But when we realize who she is, things start to take on a whole new light. So in 2020, the homicide rate in St. Louis reached a 50-year high. In response, the radical city leadership eliminated nearly 98 police jobs. It doesn't help matters that Soros-funded St. Louis circuit attorney Kim Gardner, name should ring a bell, she refuses to charge violent criminals and keeps letting them back on the streets. In July 2002, a circuit judge dismissed a 2020 murder case after the circuit attorney in July 2002, a circuit judge dismissed a 2020 murder case? How the hell's that happen? Someone typoed something, right? There's no way in the past you could dismiss something in the future. Anyway, let's just assume that's a typo. Good job, Gateway. That being said, murder case after circuit attorney office abandoned its duty and failed 3 times to show for court hearings. This isn't the first time Gardner acted against her oath. She was behind the fraudulent accusations that resulted in the removal of Missouri Governor Eric Greitens. Oh, she was behind that as well. Gardner also initiated the McCloskey case, then used it to run her campaign. Gardner refused to charge a drug dealer who was found with 1,000 opiate pills and $30,000 in cash because she didn't like the cop involved. In August 2018, Kim Gardner announced her attorneys will no longer accept cases from 28 different St. Louis police officers. Gardner called it her exclusion list. Kim Gardner is so intolerable that 24 attorneys and more than one-third of the trial lawyers left the office when she was hired, and this is a Democrat-dominated office. When Kim Gardner's office announced on Monday her office will not charge a suspect who attempted to carjack a police SUV with 2 police officers inside. This is what's going on in St. Louis. This is what we are destroying. And this is Soros. This is how Soros has gotten key places. This lady is a key place. Governors, key place. Secretary of States, key places. Speakers of the House in both the states and in the national governments, key places. These people have all been bought and paid for. Every frickin' one of them. Now, attorney for Eric Greitens is calling his accusations by his ex-wife completely fabricated and baseless. So not only did they run him out of, governor or whatever the hell he was, not only did they run him out of Missouri governor, right, and that was Kim Gardner, but then his wife goes after him, starts making all sorts of crazy accusations about physical abuse and coercive behavior. Maybe it's true. He claims it's not. He also mentioned, I was listening to a show from Steve Bannon this morning when I was walking at the gym, and he was talking about how there was a number of places where his ex-wife or ex-wife-to-be was busted for perjury. So, sounds like she is basically playing for the deep state, and again, it just saddens me how someone could love somebody at one point of their life. And this is the thing, my older brother told me this. He's like, you don't know who you've married until you divorce them. I think it's part of why I never got married, man. My parents have been married a bunch of times each, and it's just not something that seems like we're very good at. So whatever the case is, I find it very, very saddening that the mother of his sons, a woman that he once was married to, and she used to love him, I assume, could be so horribly vindictive against this man who's obviously being targeted. So Greitens, be interesting to see. Obviously, I'm not just going to assume he's innocent. That's kind of irresponsible. But I want to hear what happens and certainly want to give him the benefit of the doubt until he is proven guilty or until we find out, or at least he's not guilty. So you'd have to be as stupid as a BBC employee not to realize the U.S. manipulated a war between Russia and Ukraine. Now, of course, coming out of the expose and some British guy, but he's right on the money. And I like how he's a little tongue-in-cheek about the whole thing. Like, you really have to be kind of like asleep under a rock or something at this point if you don't understand how much of this Ukraine war, Russia, how much of this has just been happening through our politicians and everybody else. GOP frontrunners, 2 of them in Ohio State. And this is, I've intentionally stayed away from part of this story, which I'm going to scroll past, I'll mention, but it's stupid. So these 2 guys damn near go to blows. It was a stupid interview. I saw it, and it was just, he was mad saying he'd never worked a day in his life, and the dude that's up in his face is like, I did 2 tours of duty in Iraq. It's like, all right, or Afghanistan, or wherever the hell he did them. And I assume it matters, but thank you for your service, of course. But that was it. They got face-to-face, and there's a mediator gets involved, and he's like, oh, stay, blah, blah, blah. So, all right, whatever. Well, then when I found out that both of these bastards want a no-fly zone, and they were fighting for that and talking about this. I don't like either of these guys. Either of them. Josh Mendel, I don't care if you went toe-to-toe with this other douchehole. You're both doucheholes. Mike Gibbons, Josh Mendel, doucheholes. You guys are both trying to escalate the war. Get out of here. Get out of here. I got no love for either of these GOP pieces of yeah. Gotta breathe out the bad. Russian parliament chair calls for Joe Biden's impeachment over illegal funding of the Azov battalion. Main thing about this story that concerned me or confuses me is this, Vyacheslav Volodin, the chairman of the state of Duma. Now, Duma is one of those areas that's, I think, going to become its own... Oh, that's the Russian parliament. Sorry, I was thinking that was Donetsk, one of those places. But he's calling on the U.S. Congress to impeach Joe Biden. Why? Because apparently there was a law that was passed back, 2017, according to Volodin. In 2017, the U.S. Congress passed a bill prohibiting supplying the Ukrainian Azov battalion with American arms since Azov was designated a neo-Nazi organization. Azov uses the same emblem as Adolf Hitler, blah, blah, blah. Now, he said, whenever you gave weapons to this country, you had to know that the Azovs were going to get their hands on them. And that's why he's like, he should be impeached for breaking this rule. But Trump gave the Ukrainians Javelin missiles, right? So how's that okay? Were those used by the good guys? I mean, again, it just seems strange. Again, do I have any qualms about saying Joe Biden should be impeached? None. I just have a problem with the reasoning. I just feel like, there's probably about 40 other things you could say that would probably be better than this. But, I don't know. All right, thank you, Mr. Bulletin. Sure. And some of the cool stuff, I just wanted to show this because I thought it was pretty badass. These little itty-bitty drones. Little itty-bitty drones that we are using, and they're called switchblades. They're pretty cool. Let's see if we can get them to show. We don't have to necessarily hear the volume. I'd like to see these guys get to the heart of the matter, though. Where the hell? You suck. All right, let's see if I can find it down here. I'm not going to waste my time. There we go. There we go. Finally. Yeah, so these cool little... It's like a landscaper truck? That's what it looks like here in California. You see those little things cruising around on sidewalks, and it's dudes fixing the landscape. But yeah, cool little, I don't know. It's deadly for a small thing. I'm sure you could probably put some higher crazy caliber weapons, maybe even a little armament to possibly get it to at least stick to the top of a tank, and then some sort of directional explosive. But yeah, not a bad little weapon. Goes to show you how many drones are actually going a long ways these days. I'll just turn that off just in case. So we now know why Biden called a man fat. This is where things are going to get a little bit interesting. I hope you guys are ready. And he challenged him to a push-up contest back in 2019 when he accused Biden and Hunter of pay-to-play in Ukraine. Now, let's see. This is the somewhat larger fella that Biden's like, yeah, well, I bet you I could do more push-ups than you. I challenge you to a push-up contest. How dare you ask about my son? My son's the greatest man I ever knew. And stuff. All right, so that makes sense. We just wanted to refresh people's memories. Well, apparently, New York Times, you guys now know that the New York Times has recently demonstrated or proven that the New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop, they basically verified that the laptop is, in fact, legitimate. Well, now, remember that diary? That Project Veritas is the video we were talking about and all the crazy going on there? Well, apparently, New York Times has just accidentally confirmed Ashley Biden's diary, too, is legitimate. There have been some stories written about the diary which described one of the more disturbing parts Ashley wrote about, stating she was forced to take inappropriate showers with her father when she was young. Sadly, that explains a lot, doesn't it? So now the New York Times has doubled down and confirmed yet again the diary is real. Where do they do that? So the diary is, where do they say? Ashley Biden's diary was shown at Trump fundraiser. Weeks later, Project Veritas called her. The right-wing group's deceptive call to the president's daughter among the new details that show how the organization worked to expose the personal information about the Biden family. You have to wonder what's going on right now, politically speaking. There's an awful lot of negative stuff coming out against Joe Biden. Deeply personal and very damning. Very damning. Like, horribly damning and probably illegal. So, what's some of these things? Well, let's get into some of the fun. Now, one of the concerns is this particular picture down here. I'll zoom in a little on this. The one where Hunter's doing this Russian model or whatever the hell this is, right? And they're basically saying in this post, hey, who's taking this picture? Who do you think that is taking the picture? Do you think they know what he's doing? Do you think maybe they set him up? Maybe a little bribery? If large sums of money are being paid by foreign actors, would they want insurance that the deal will be kept? Of course they would. Dark secrets. What happens if Biden became POTUS knowing, through Hunter, +1, took massive amounts of bribes to change or look the other way of U.S. policy towards Ukraine? Or the exact same post, just one before, where it's the same thing but towards China. We're starting to find out that that's probably why Joe Biden is behaving the way he is when it comes to what's going on with Ukraine and China. he is bought and paid for. His son has gotten him in so much trouble. The amount of secrets that they are afraid are going to come out and are coming out is beyond reproach. Jack Maxey's been very involved in this Hunter Biden laptop. Very involved. People, there are over 100,000 texts we are curating and over 128,000 emails. Before, almost all were hidden in archives and difficult to access without pertinent search terms. We have also found thousands of pictures he thought he deleted. Some stuff I'm uncomfortable even explaining. When I say it is over, I mean it. Please pray and keep your Constitution close. Going to make sure public can crowdsource the emails with redacted @.coms, bank account numbers, etc., and texts, less telephone numbers. Trying our best to be responsible and not bring further harm to the victims. Keep all of us in your prayers. Please be patient. We are on the wall. Big love, America. All of us have devoted our lives to keeping you safe. So, huge information coming out. He's been posting like mad, just all sorts of stuff, and he's getting it out as quickly as he can. They're trying to get these pictures and everything available. He says law enforcement, anybody that's law enforcement will have access to this like within days, it sounded like. So, very close to major landfire, just a flood of crazy information. OAN's Chanel Rion, gorgeous, confirms photos and videos on Hunter's laptop are of his niece, Natalie Biden, daughter of Beau Biden, Hunter's deceased brother. She was 14 years old at the time the pictures and videos were taken. Now, this is a picture that's been having a hard time staying posted anywhere, and they finally did a good job of mixing it. Looks like 3 pictures to me. But they've got the one that looks like a Chris Ray with the X through it, which I don't know if that's coincidental or if that X is just meant to throw off the sniff. I don't know. But this is a powerful picture of a niece of Hunter who is Prager McGregor. This is a camo we used to get it out. The bots used to block it were a week late, recognizing that we had tricked them. So they got the picture out. Sweet. But yes, she's Prager McGregor over there. Now again, pictures. You're not ready to see Hunter and Finnegan yet. Finnegan's the other younger girl or daughter. And supposedly that's significantly worse. I mean, when you see Joe Biden kissing her mouth like that, oh my God, that's a little freaky. That's like a real kiss. That's gross. So yeah, something not so good with the Biden daughters, to say the least. And the truth is coming out. So the Wiener's laptop. Why no leaks or suicides? That is a good question. While horrific, Hunter's laptop is not really shocking to most of us. Various images have been leaked over the past couple of years. My real curiosity is why there have been no leaks that I have seen on Wiener's laptop, specifically the insurance file. The fact that he has not committed suicide is also intriguing. I'm not sure if that means he's working with them, not sure if he's in hiding. Again, not sure, right? Asks and begs all sorts of crazy questions. It's hard to say exactly what is going on.